All right. Good night, everybody. Good night, Belmopan. Good night, everyone who is joining us tonight, whether on Plus TV, YouTube, or Facebook. My name is David Daniel Smith. I'll be your host tonight. And we are on the seventh episode of Let's Talk About Change. And I'm joined tonight by no other than Miss ABG herself, Miss Anna Banner Guy. So good night, Miss Anna. How are you tonight?
Hey, David. I'm hanging in there. It's the seventh episode. So I had to show up and I'm here.
Yeah. Yep. So for those who might not know, we have been thoroughly busy this week. We have been crazy busy today. And what is happening tomorrow, Miss Anna? And we have something exciting happening tomorrow. Let's let our viewers know what exactly is happening.
Well, David, I want to talk to our viewers tonight. First of all, I want to say good night to all our viewers locally in our country, Belize, in our city, of course, Belmopan, our Belmopan residents, and those watching from afar. We welcome you and we are thankful for your support. Just following our campaign means a lot to us because it means that you care about what's happening here in Belmopan, in Belize, in your beloved country. Tomorrow we are having a fundraiser for our campaign. It's what we do. It's how we include our community into being a part of this type of leadership. Traditionally, around this time in campaign season, candidates in particular would go out and try to entice voters by giving whatever it is, in some cases, a bag of bean, try to get them on some program, some government funded program for those who candidates who have access to those government programs. And there are different ways that candidates go and try to get voters to vote for them. Some form of bribery, I would call it.
Mm.
Our campaign is different. In everything we do, we try to exercise in a difference, and of course, go with our team, which is that of inclusion. It's very important for us that our community is not included afterwards, but throughout the process. And
Mm.
so, this is a great opportunity for Belmopanese in particular to be included in our campaign financing. It's giving something towards our campaign and getting something in return. So tomorrow we're doing a delicious food sale on
Mhm.
Garza, on top of Garza Street here in Belmopan. We did one last month. We're doing one tomorrow. We have our partners in Los Angeles, California, who have been doing these at a much larger scale. And we are thankful and grateful for that level of support. We are thankful and grateful. If you have bought a ticket already, if you're planning on buying a ticket, if you're talking about our food sale, whatever level of support and input you have in this campaign as a whole, we are appreciative. So we are looking forward to have a fantastic time tomorrow doing this fundraising drive.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. And I must add, we had a lot of people that are probably not in Belmopan and you would like to um, still donate something to the campaign there at the bottom of the screen. The account number is scrolling, so you could always feel free to just give any little support, and anything goes a long way, right? And
Thank,
so,
thank you, David. And I just want to mention that I have a cousin all the way in some part of the United States. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where she is. I have to really get that done. But I want to say a big thank you to her, Rosie Perez, for having made contact with people she knew or she know live in Belmopan, and she knows this, and she's saying, "I want to buy you 5 plates of food on Friday for this fundraiser." So it's the thought that counts and the effort that went into that sale, selling those 5 tickets. I mean, I have to mention it because when we have something that we believe in, we go out of our way to ensure that we support it. And I want to say thank you, Rosie. Thank you to all my relatives and friends, those in Belize City. I have a cousin in Belize City who is the owner of Gwen's Kitchen, Mary Flowers. She too is supporting and she is coordinating with her contacts in this area to ensure that we get support in order for this to happen. So for those people who are not even living in Belmopan and are willing to support, we say thank you, thank you, thank you.
awesome, awesome. And so let's jump right in for the night. I know we're breaking down this manifesto, and I have the manifesto right here beside me, and I mean it's packed with information that people could really get to know exactly what you are about, right? And so for tonight we have two topics we're addressing. We're going to be touching sustainable development and the environment and citizen safety. So let's jump right into sustainable development with this little short video, a clip from the original manifesto launch.
Belmopan is dubbed the Garden City, and efforts to preserve the green areas and keep Belmopan an eco-friendly city has been neglected. Growing up in Lemanal village, Anna understands that there must be a balance with how land is used and the importance of protecting our flora. She has spearheaded a project through Belmopan Active Youths, Bay, in which they planted hundreds of trees around Belmopan and was involved in the rehabilitation of a park, all in the efforts to make Belmopan a more eco-friendly, family-friendly city.
All right, excellent. So I want to get right into the questions. I know on the first point under the sustainable development goal, sustainable development and environment topic, you have a support healthy and family environment by building more parks and preserving green spaces, including buffers, parks, and playgrounds. Now, the first question I want to ask is how do you plan to enhance the current family areas um, or parks in Belmopan, and what can be done to preserve the green spaces?
Thank you, David. Thank you for that question, and thank you for touching on the topic of sustainable development and the environment for our city, and that my manifesto speaks to. Um, our family, it's an essential part of growing up as a child, and also to fellowship as a family in these spaces. Every thriving community that is planned properly needs to preserve these spaces in order for us to have a safe space to go, that is outside of our house or yard, and is used by the community for play, for socializing, for recreating. That's important for our well-being.
Yeah.
When we think about sustainable development, though, uh, we need to think about our economy, of course, um, our society, and we also have to consider our environment. So it's a very holistic approach that we need to look at when we think about sustainable development. For Belmopan in particular, we have a major challenge. It's an opportunity for a good leader. It's a challenge that we haven't been addressing for others. I'm talking
Mm.
about us being one of the fastest growing municipality. I'm talking about this urban sprawl without adequate plans, without adequate policies that is going to speak to this population growth. Along with population growth comes the need for proper expansion. I'm talking about living in a community where we have seen that people, there is no planned area in terms of the way the peripheral areas are being developed haphazardly. This is really threatening to our environment. It means that we are occupying land here in Belmopan that have not been surveyed, that have not been planned, which means they are behind in terms of adequate infrastructure. This is going to have serious impacts on our families. We have now, for example, we have a pandemic on hand where our Ministry of Health is partnering with World Health Organization in asking us that we need to wash our hands at least for 20 seconds often during the course of the day. And we have families and children living in this community, Belmopan, our capital city, without access to running water. These are serious issues, and issues we need to address. We cannot just ignore them anymore. I'm hoping voters, when they go to the poll, they will consider this kind of haphazard development. Try to vote in a way that this will be minimized. These issues will be addressed, not just at a local level, but in partnership with national government. We have to look at, when we're thinking about national, resource management, we have to look at Ministry of Natural Resources, we have to look at Ministry of Finance, we have to look at the utilities companies, we have to look at the stakeholders on a whole that will be that needs to be a part of this process, that we need to work together with these stakeholders to collaborate to ensure that our city is being developed in a sustainable manner. And that is not happening now. And that is something that my manifesto addresses and hope to continue to address. In reference to green spaces, though, we have seen here in Belmopan that with the stroke of a pen, that areas that have been preserved for many years. We have seen Belmopan started in its inception, as my manifesto speaks to, in a way that no other city has that kind of plan. I'm talking about the pedestrian-friendly city with a lot of green spaces initially. The buffers are extremely large. These spaces are, it's beautification. It's protecting our environment. It's speaking to green-friendly city. And from that, we have deteriorated into where we are now. And we have things that we can really capitalize on. We have the beautiful Mount Pleasant Creek. that is really running right in the midst of our city, in the middle of Belmopan. And yes, it is in the middle of Belmopan because half or so of our population live on one side and the remaining half live on the other side. And these are issues that leadership needs to address. How are we going to preserve? How are we going to enhance these areas? So
Mm.
I'm thinking about as a leader and as the area representative for Belmopan, I think one of the important things that needs to be put at the table in collaboration with the city council is to ensure that these areas are identified and as areas that are not up for sale, and no sale policy. No sale policy. That's what we need for those areas.
Mhm. Okay, pretty good. And I have to touch another point. I know apart from this, you wanted to include. I know your manifesto and your campaign is on inclusion, and I think a lot of times we tend to forget people that are differently abled, right? And so, what are some of your plans to ensure the inclusion of these citizens, of this differently able citizens?
I think one of the things that's very important is to take practical steps in terms of getting the business community, the city, the government, in fact, wherever employment exists in our city, to sign on to some form of agreement that these employers in particular are going to consider, and they're willing to sit along with leadership to figure out how we can come up with a policy, how we can come up with something that includes that differently able people are included.
Mhm.
They're not being considered because they're not at the table, they're not there. How many times do we go into stores, do we go into restaurants, you go into the Belmopan City Council, you go into the government offices, you go to the parks, you go to the playground. uh, we still have this culture where our people who are differently able are basically shut in.
Mhm.
There's not a space for them. And so, if we bring them inside and if we include them, then the spaces will be made for them. They will be considered when we're building a walkway. They'll be considered when we're building a park. They'll be considered when we're enhancing and developing any area of our community. I think that's very important.
Mhm. Okay. Excellent. And I want to move right on. If anybody has any questions that they want her to touch on specifically, please send them in the comments. But we're working on a time thing here, so I'm going to be moving right on with these questions because I have quite a few for you tonight. And so also under the topic of sustainable development and environment, there is a point there that you mentioned you want to include seniors and retirees in community participation and development for the community. So, why do you think it is important to include seniors and retirees in the city's development, and how do you plan to include them?
I think we lose, as a community, we are losing a great opportunity when we don't include seniors, when we don't include differently able um, citizens into our plan. And I feel that seniors, and I have said this before and I will keep saying this, because for my campaign itself, we wouldn't be able to have this level of campaign if we didn't have people who are experienced, who have been there and done that, and who know the city, who know the community, who have helped to build this Belmopan. And these people need to be included. Um, One of the first things that I would like to do is to include in all the committees that I form. I'm talking about local planning work group in different areas of my manifesto, to create these committees where we will include residents from Belmopan, but in particular those who have retired, say from, for example, from essential government services and are at home. They are ready and they're right. They want to give back. They want to be included in a part of the development for Belmopan. They want to be included in a part of developing plans for Belmopan, in a part of implementing these plans and policies. I think that's very important. We see sometimes that on its own, neighborhoods would try to come up with small groups, and many times seniors come out and they want to be a part of this, but the support is just not there. I think it's very important that there's a connection, a genuine, sustainable connection between leadership and our seniors and our citizens on a whole, David. I think that's very important. That's the kind of leadership that I want to bring to the table. That's the kind of leadership that I will need and I have to bring to the table, because I will not presume that I know how to run this city on my own. I will not presume that I know everything. I have some experience in terms of urban planning. I have some experience in terms of how of Belmopan, how being a city councillor, a former city councillor, and a former deputy mayor for the city, I was privy to have aligned myself with many of the plans that were previously developed. Unfortunately, a lot of those plans have been shelved and were developed for specific purposes, to meet specific needs and criteria, say, for example, by funding agencies. Unfortunately, we have had visionary leaders who sees these plans as worthy of being executed, actually being implemented, and to follow the guidelines of those plans. Those are things that I would like to share, those ideas, and to listen basically to the community, but in particular to listen to the seniors.
Great. Okay. So I want to move into the next topic of citizen safety. And so we know citizen safety is very important to all of our Belmopan residents. And so as we jump into that, I will show the clip from our manifesto launch about citizen safety, and then we'll jump directly into the questions. Okay.
Serving for years as a police officer in the Belize Police Department, Anna understands safety and security, and how important it is for our Belmopan residents to feel safe. She has been working with the most vulnerable and at-risk youth for years, spearheading many programs and initiatives geared toward personal development, job readiness, along with many forms of intervention to curb youth involvement in armed violence. Anna knows community participation is what is needed to make Belmopan safe. In fact, through BAY, she currently spearheads the BAY Mentorship Program, where citizens of the community can positively influence young individuals. She plans to have continued partnership with different organizations, churches, and businesses to bring a reduction to crime and increase the safety of Belmopan.
Okay. All right. So very excellent clip there. So I want to go into our fourth question for tonight. In your topic on citizen safety, you mentioned about engaging the community and youth in meaningful projects to assist in the reduction of crime. So what types of projects you are referring to? I know you have been doing this already, but let's emphasize on those types of projects.
David, one of the root causes of crime in our community and in our country as a whole, I believe comes from the lack of opportunities, particularly among our young people. Young people are more vulnerable. They have been they have a lot of energy. Young people want to be included. They want to be a part of something. It's very important for young people to be attached. And when that attachment is not in the form of any meaningful organized activity or institution, trust me, those young people will find an avenue outside of that. Hence, we have crime and gang related activities, drugs, and likes thereof. So our young people are actually victim of poor leadership. um, where these opportunities should be coming from. Actually, I'm talking about some of the things that I have personally through being the founder and director of Belmopan Active Youth. I have embarked on several job creation projects, bringing young people to the table and getting their ideas of what do you want to be, how do you see yourself 5, 10 years from now, and really speaking to young people, not just in groups, but also as individuals, because that's another thing. Young people need to be, each of us are unique, and like all of us, we want our individual attention. People need to show how dynamic they are as an individual and not just heard as groups. And so these are the kinds of programs that I have been initiating for years, and not just initiating, spearheading, implementing, in fact. And we have seen absolutely tremendous results. I'm talking about job skills training. I'm talking about getting young people certified in a particular skill and align them as an apprentice to employment that fits that skill. Uh, those those are things that a leader can really. It's not hard to do. It's just having a heart to see the lack in the society, the lack of opportunities for our young people, and then filling that lack and that void. I'll just give you an example. We in Belmopan, between 2015 and 2018, the Belmopan City Council got a $6 million bond. And so the City Council then had an opportunity to use that $6 million bond to benefit the people of Belmopan as best as we feel that it could have benefited, where it was most needed. At least any good leader would do that. Our area rep heavy-handedly decided that $6 million would be invested in cementing streets only. I think we're still seeing perhaps a small portion of that being used now for, to prime up for the election and the campaign season. So unfortunately, the suggestion I had made was at least to take half of that, the $3 million, and create an industry, or invest it in an area, partnering with the business chamber and getting the community involved in terms of coming up with ideas. How can we turn this portion of this bond into job creation? Because obviously I've been working for years with young people, and so I know firsthand the lack of opportunities that exists for our young people here in Belmopan. You see, Belmopan is not just about the beautiful water fountain and the roundabouts and the paving road and the government offices. It goes far beyond that. That is now just the shell for Belmopan, and it's basically just a painting, just an image. Getting down to who we really are is something that the leader needs, and a leader of a city needs to connect with its people to the root, not to the surface. And those are some of the areas that I have been working on with young people, David. I'm talking about getting young people who are high school age and want to be in school, getting them back in school, working along with institutions and organizations that promote and support these types of initiatives, activities, and programs. And they exist, but we need a leader that is going to be looking out for our young people.
Yeah, excellent. And I know we have some of those same amazing young people that are on our team, and some that are actually here with us tonight. Rahim and Azwin, and so I just want to give them a big shout out tonight, right?
Hi,
And
guys.
And we're winding out of time, and I want you to jump into this last question. Let's tackle it before the show ends. And so you also mentioned under citizen safety to join interested businesses, churches, and embassies and consulates to increase capabilities to tackle illegal immigration, drug trafficking, and violent and property crimes. How important is it to have these organizations on board when tackling crime and making Belmont City safe?
Well, David, we started out, by we I mean Belmopan started out as one of the safest municipality. And we still have leadership that want to convince us that Belmopan is still a very safe place to be. Unless we're disconnected from what Belmopan really is, we would know that that is not um, entirely true. And so Belmopan is not what Belmopan used to be in terms of safety and security. I myself have been a victim of armed violence in Belmopan. I was held up at gunpoint by four masked men with sawed-off shotgun. I just had a story told to me today, shared to me today, that one of our campaigners was held up on the walkway and was stabbed. Um, that's his experience. He was walking with his girlfriend. Their cell phones and personal belongings were stolen. And so it's not stories we're making up. Some of them have a way of not getting to the news media. But it's a shame that that's where we are now. But it also goes to show that Belmopan families are hurting. We are hurting, and which means the community is hurting. And when the community is hurting, the country is hurting, especially a community like Belmopan, which for all intents and purposes holds our administrative businesses for the entire country. We also have the embassies here. We have our national university. It's a city that has a lot of potential. And so when we see these crime are on the rise, we need leadership that is going to immediately respond to them. I believe that Belmopan, in fact, has to collaborate and work closely with the police department, not in a reactive, a punitive approach, but in a more proactive approach. We have had pockets of neighborhood watches in different communities in Belmopan where the citizens believe that I need to step up. I need to create this kind of activity to bring a sense of security to my community. But those initiatives are best when they get the level of support and partnership from the city, from leaders in the community, and of course from the police department. And so many times we see that one of these committees from time to time start up very enthusiastically and then slowly just wither away. So we want to have programs in place that will be sustained and will be supported by leadership. It's very important, David.
Okay, excellent. And so, like I mentioned, we are at that time limit for tonight. I just want you guys to know if you have any questions or you want to find out any more, you could always refer back to the Facebook page Anna Banner Guide for Belmopan. You could also visit her website www.annabannerguide.com, and there you could on both of these platforms you could find her manifesto, find more information about her and her plans, and also get in touch with somebody from our team, right? And even Anna Banner Guide herself. So with that, I want to say good night. Look out for us tomorrow. Remember, Garza, at the top of Garza Street. Look out for us tomorrow. The sun is telling me pull up my glasses. So
I've
look
been
out for
saying that long time.
so look out for us tomorrow at the top of Garza Street as well. Wednesday, we are going to be is nomination day, and so look out for us in the community as a part of our team. You get to see a part of our team on the road, and just enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a blessed night. So good night again, Domapan.
Thank you, David. Good night, everyone.
All right.